Hello, students. It's nice to see you. And thank you so much for joining me on episode 31 of Max Sensei's online English lesson. This episode is not about ice cream, unfortunately. I did think about doing an ice cream episode because it's 31, like Baskin Robbins, but we are talking about food today, and we're talking specifically about food that has been changed or enhanced by technology. And I hope you guys enjoy the lesson and you learn something new and you have a interesting opinion to share. But first, well, actually, let's get started. Okay, so today's episode is called Biotech Food Genetic Engineering. There's a lot of difficult words in there and a lot of science words we're going to talk about today, but I'm going to help you by explaining what those words mean and helping you understand some of these technology terms and so on. Let's start reading. In 1960, the world population was 3 billion people. 60 years later, in 2020, we are almost at 8 billion people on Earth. The world is very crowded, and people need food to survive. But when population exceeds resources, a problem arises. Biotech scientists are trying to find new ways of making food or growing vegetables in order to feed the growing population. They are using a method called genetic engineering, which means manipulating the DNA to make foods better. Through GE, they can improve the quality and nutritional value of food. However, some scientists, are concerned that the technology is too rushed, and it is being sold before scientists are able to understand all the effects of GE foods. Genetically modifying plants and animals has been happening for thousands of years, and some of you might even modify some vegetables or flowers in your garden. When you take the seeds from your strongest or biggest plants and use those seeds to grow new plants, that is considered genetic modification. However, what genetic engineers are doing is a little different. What they are doing is taking genes from different species and combining them to get a strong effect. One example is taking genes from a mouse and inserting those genes into lettuce to make the lettuce produce vitamin C. Another example is to take the genes of a moth, a type of nighttime bug, and insert them into apple trees so that the apple tree is resistant to diseases. There are some GE foods available on the market right now, including corn, soybeans, and cotton. Most of the modifying is happening to protect the crops while they are growing. So, a major question many people are asking is this safe? Is it safe to eat lettuce that has mouse DNA or an apple that has moth DNA? Well, according to a 2016 report from the National Academy of Sciences in the USA, no differences have been found in the risk of eating a GE product compared to a non-GE product. The report also said that some GE foods might be safer because the vegetables will be protected from insect attacks. However, there are still some scientists who are worried about the unintended consequences or health effects of mixing DNA from different species. Will GE foods be able to feed the growing population and help countries that suffer from malnutrition? The Tuskegee University Biotech Research Center in the USA seems to think that that is the case. They say that many countries have millions of malnourished people, And the WHO says there are 250 million children who suffer from vitamin A deficiency. However, with GE, they could insert vitamin A into rice, which would prevent children from this vitamin A deficiency. Whatever happens in the future will remain to be seen. But in the meantime, many scientists are busy at work trying to genetically modify plants and animals to be bigger, more nutritious, healthier, and filled with vitamins to help people live happier, healthier lives. All right, that's all for the reading. Now, I want to kind of go back and explain some of these things. So, first, we want to talk about manipulating the DNA. This means, so what I researched was basically they have the DNA of an animal, let's say the mouse, and they've found that this part of the DNA has vitamin C. So they can take this data, this kind of DNA information, and they can put that into lettuce. And then the lettuce will take the mouse DNA, the part that has vitamin C, and then the lettuce will grow with vitamin C. And the same thing with the apple trees. So they found the DNA in a moth that that protects moths from certain diseases, and they put that DNA inside the apple seed. And when the apple tree grows, it has this DNA's ability. So basically, the apple tree's DNA is manipulated. It's changed with moth DNA to be protected from diseases. The benefit of this is, like, right now, the apple trees are being attacked by insects, and people spray the chemical on the apple tree to so the insect doesn't come to the apple tree. But with this genetically engineered apple tree, basically the apple tree has the ability to reject the insect. So this means the insect will come to the tree, and then the insect doesn't like maybe the smell or the taste of the tree, and it'll fly away. That means that the apple tree farm doesn't need to use chemicals on the apples. So that's why maybe the GE products might be safer, because there's no outside chemicals being used, but just the DNA of the apple is a little bit different. However, other scientists are saying we don't know all of the effects of mixing an animal and a fruit together. And there might be some kind of long-term effect that would be damaging to our health. So they're saying we need to research more, and we need to test this more instead of rushing it and selling it quickly. Other scientists are saying, hey, there's no big difference. Just try it and it'll be safer. That's one of the discussion questions is, do you think it's safer or not? So you have to really think about the kind of benefits and the sort of demerits. Like, is it the pros and cons? Okay, there's no chemicals, so that's good, but it's using DNA from an animal, which we don't know the full effect with. So is that good or not? So I want you guys, I want to hear your guys' opinions on that. So I also researched a small problem that happened. So in the article, I said that there are some GE foods available on the market right now, including corn, soybeans, and cotton. And I was reading that the soybeans had a small problem before it went to the market. So during the testing phase, they took DNA from a peanut and they mixed it with the DNA from soybeans. So I'm not sure the effect. I think it was some kind of making the soybean grow faster or bigger or something like that. However, the soybean had the peanut DNA. And so if somebody that had a peanut allergy ate the soybean, they might have an allergic reaction. Even though it's not a peanut, it has some peanut DNA, which would still be allergic to the person. So it seems like there are certain things that maybe scientists don't think about, and that could create problems in the future. However, I will say that the scientists discovered that problem before selling that soybean, and they fixed the problem, and the soybeans don't have an allergic reaction for people who are allergic to peanuts. So yeah, again, there's kind of pluses and minuses, and you have to think which is better, GE food or chemical food or something like that. Or there's a third option, which is organic food, which means the food is grown, not genetically modified, no chemicals, it just grows naturally. Usually organic food is more expensive. Usually the quality has a wide range. Sometimes the quality is good, sometimes the quality is bad, but that's the risk of eating organic food. I also wanted to talk about something else. So at the end of the essay, I talked about rice. They want to insert vitamin A into rice, which would prevent children from having vitamin A deficiency. So I was researching, what does vitamin A deficiency mean? And basically, if you're a child and you have vitamin A deficiency, you might go blind. It affects your eyesight. Your eye quality will go down. And so eating, like when they take the vitamin A from an animal DNA and they put it into rice DNA, when the rice grows, the rice will have vitamin A, and that might help provide vitamin A for people who are suffering from vitamin A deficiency. Yeah, so I mean there could be a lot of benefits. Like other GE food is just making things bigger. And I saw a really interesting picture on the internet. There was 2 fish, salmon, and they were 18 months old. And one salmon was genetically modified. So it was genetically engineered with DNA from another animal to grow bigger. And the other salmon was not genetically modified. It was just an organic salmon. Anyway, the difference was huge. The regular salmon was this big, and the GE salmon was like this big. So one thing that GE Foods are doing is creating more food in a shorter amount of time, which might be able to solve the kind of world hunger problem. These salmon can grow super big, super fast, and provide more food for people. I think that's all the notes that I wanted to talk about. Now let's move on to our vocabulary. So looking at our first vocab word, it's the word exceeds. Exceeds means be greater in number or size than something. In the article, I said, but when population exceeds resources, a problem arises. So population exceeds resources means our resources is our food. And when the population becomes so big that there's not enough food, population exceeds resources, a problem will happen, which means people will go hungry or they can't eat. All right, number 2 is manipulating. Manipulating means to alter, edit, or move something. Basically, in this case, it means to change or alter. Alter means like to change or to edit, okay? So in the article, it says manipulating the DNA. So we're changing the DNA. We're taking DNA from two things and putting it together to create something new. Number 3 is unintended. This means not planned or meant, not on purpose. It's like an accident. In the article, it says scientists are worried about unintended consequences of mixing DNA. So this means like, for example, the soybean that had the peanut DNA, which created a peanut allergy reaction in some people. That was an unintended consequence. All right, number 4 is malnutrition, a lack of proper nutrition caused by not having enough to eat or not eating enough of the right things. It says there are millions of malnourished people around the world, people who lack proper nutrition and they do not have enough to eat, which is what GE Foods are trying to solve, the problem of malnutrition. Number 5 is deficiency, a lack or a shortage. The word we used was vitamin A deficiency. So a lack or a shortage of vitamin A in people's bodies created eye trouble in children. So that was why they tried to create rice with vitamin A. All right, those are our vocabulary words. Now let's move on to our discussion questions. Our first discussion question. There we go. Our first discussion question is, do you think biotech foods are safer than organic foods? Biotech foods are GE foods, okay? So which do you think is safer, GE foods or organic foods? I'll let you decide and just give your answer why you think so. Number 2, can biotech foods help feed the world? Do you think that this biotech, these GE, genetically modified foods, will help feed the growing population? Yes or no? And you can explain your reason. Number 3, if you had both options available, would you choose GE food or organic food? Which would you choose if you had both options available at the supermarket? Number 4, when you choose food from the store, do you check where the food came from? Do you look like what country it comes from, or if it's organic, or what kind of chemicals were used, or something like that? Do you check where the food came from? And lastly, number 5, if you could combine 2 fruits into one special fruit, what would you like to create? So, for example, like a banana, but the banana's flavor, the taste is like a watermelon. Like we mixed watermelon DNA with banana DNA and we created this new fruit that's like a banana that tastes like watermelon. So you can create a new fruit using 2 fruits combined. So I'd like to hear what your guys' ideas are, or if you want to change fruit to something else like a vegetable or a meat or something, that's okay too. Like a steak that has really high nutritional values or something. All right. That's all for today's lesson. Thank you guys so much for listening. And I wonder if we've eaten, because they said soybeans are on the market. So I wonder if we have eaten like genetically modified soybeans. That would be very interesting. Okay, well, thank you so much for listening. I will see you guys soon for episode 32. Please look forward to that. And I'm always looking forward to your questions. Okay, bye guys. Bye everyone.